therefore, I wanted to share with you a special Devar Torah in connection with protection, because now we're in the middle of the war and we're looking for more and more protection for ourselves and for our soldiers and for the hostages. So there's something very special and meaningful that we can learn regarding this subject. We know that there are specifically two mitzvahs out of many other mitzvahs, but there are specifically two mitzvahs which are connected to protection of Am Yisrael. That's tefillin, putting on the tefillin every day, and having a mezuzah on one's home. Tefillin, regarding the mitzvah of tefillin, the Rebbe quoted often the Talmud, which quotes the verse in Parashat Kitavo, "V'ra'u kol amei haaretz ki shem Hashem nikra alecha v'yaro mimeka," that the nations of the world see that the fear of Hashem is upon us, and then they will fear us. That's what it says in the Torah. The Talmud says this refers to the tefillin of the head. What will they see? They will see the tefillin, and they will fear us. So I tell it often to people that you should put on tefillin, having in mind, especially in honor of the soldiers, that this will be a special guarding, a special bracha, and a blessing for all of us and the soldiers. The main zuzah, but just to complete the subject of the tefillin, this is something that the Rebbe spoke about before the 6-day war, knowing that there was going to be a crisis, a war crisis for Israel, and also before the Yom Kippur War. Rabbi warned there was going to be something dangerous, a dangerous occurrence on a national level in Eretz Yisrael, and we could help Eretz Yisrael by bringing bracha and saving Eretz Yisrael by making sure that as many people as possible put on the tefillin. One of the stories that has been shared was by the late Rabbi Groner, the Rebbe's personal secretary. This happened soon after the Yom Kippur War. That was that our army had taken a whole group of Assyrian soldiers captives. So they took them into captivity, and they asked them what happened was that they had been quite far. They were coming towards our soldiers, and all of a sudden they made a U-turn. They started running away. So we caught up to them, and we brought them captive back to Israel. And one of those individuals was a commander. And so we asked them, "Why did you guys just make a U-turn?" And they said because they saw one individual, or many, that were wearing these black boxes on their arm and a black box on their head. And they became freaked out that this was a secret weapon. So they took off for their lives. And so it turns out that it's not a secret weapon. It's a real weapon, and everybody knows about it over here at least. And hopefully that brought a lot of bracha, blessings, to all of us here in Am Yisrael. Another mitzvah is the mitzvah of mezuzah. Mezuzah is shmirah, it guards us from unwanted things. Like it says that every other tool for guarding it helps only while the individual is in there. For example, if it's an alarm or whatever, so while the person is in the home, then it guards the person. The mezuzah guards the person both when they're in the home and also outside the home. So it guards us wherever we are. In fact, there's an interesting subject, and the Rebbe talks about it in one of the sichas, one of his talks. I believe it's in volume 24 of the Likutei Sichot, in the midst of the Torah, which talks about mezuzah, which is Parashat Ekev. We say the Shema, Uchtavtam, and you should write them, Al mezuzot beitecha, on the doorposts of your home, Ubisharecha, and on your gates. So over there, the Rebbe talked about there are 2 points of the mitzvah. The one point of the mitzvah of mezuzah is that you have a mezuzah on the doorpost. Then you have another point of the mezuzah that it guards. Therefore, there are some people that have a mezuzah on their desk, or in their car. There's no mitzvah to put it on the door of your car. It's mobile. It's not a fixed, steady place. But the previous Rebbe had a mezuzah on his table. Some people have mezuzah, they carry them on a necklace or something. That's a little problematic because going to the bathroom, you have to make sure to take it off. But there is a concept of having a mezuzah where a person goes. Although we don't need it. Once you have a kosher mezuzah in your home, you don't need to have another mezuzah per se. But it has been accepted that there is a double quality of a mezuzah that it also guards. So the main mezuzah, the core mitzvah mezuzah, is to put on the doorposts. Similarly, when it comes to a chitat, they have, just till yesterday I had it in my pocket. I gave one to someone. I have it in the office. I have more. We did an event right here on Wednesday night for the local emergency squad. I'm not sure if you know what that means, but basically, since there have been a few before that, but ever since Simchas Torah, October 7th, there are over 700 emergency squads in Israel. Just in Jerusalem itself, there are over 30 emergency squads, which are local civilians, which are armed, and they take care of the community. So I said I wanted to do an event of appreciation for them for being so dedicated. So we had a whole meal over here on Wednesday night. I'm sorry, this past Thursday night. It was a huge Kiddush Hashem. People were so appreciative. We had music and we had a lot of food. One of the things I did was I gave out a Chitas card. Chitas is an abbreviation for Chumash, Tehillim, and Tanya. The word is actually in next week's Parsha, Miketz. It says, Vayihi Chitat Elokim. I'll call, I think, Yoshvei Aretz. The Chitat means fear. That the fear of Hashem was upon all of the neighborhoods around where Yaakov and his sons were. And so Chitat stands for Chumash, Tehillim, and Tanya. And so they made a card with microfilm that on the card you have the entire. You have to have a major projector, of course, in order to show you the actual words. But you have it in the card, and it's a shmirah. I gave them to keep it in their pocket, inside pockets, and it guards them. Here you have a similar point where you have chitat is usually meant to be learned. You have the portion of the week in the Chumash. It's divided into 7 days of the week. So each day you do the portion. So from today was Tuesday. So we learned from Shlishi until the end of the third Aliyah. Then Tehillim, the portion of Tehillim for the day. Today is 106. We started Tanya, Yutet Kisa. We started the whole Tanya. It's divided into days of the year. So when you do these 3 things, it's a special shmirah. So of course, when you have the microfilm, you can't really learn the Chumash per se and Tehillim and Tanya. But nonetheless, there is another point over here, which is shmirah, which is guarding. So sometimes you have a dual purpose for a certain mitzvah or a certain object, which has a double purpose. So we're going to jump into Chanukkah, and we're going to connect the mitzvah of Chanukkah to the mitzvah of mezuzah. Chanukkah is similar to the mitzvah of mezuzah. By the way, it's an opportunity, as we'll try to finish off with, by sharing how we have to try to encourage people to give up mezuzahs or get people to purchase mezuzahs, so that there's an extra shmir. We need it now more than ever. Okay, so first of all, the menorah, or in Israel the Chanukkah, needs to be in the doorpost, in the doorway. So the mezuzah needs to be also on the doorpost. So it's a similar mitzvah. The only difference is that the mezuzah is on the right side of the door when you go in, and the Chanukkah needs to be on the left side, which basically means the person is surrounded by mitzvahs when you go through the doorway. Number 2, it has to be outside. Just like the mezuzah is outside, so too, like by the door, so too the Chanukkah, the menorah, has to be outside towards the world, because we're supposed to be one of the main points of Chanukkah is to light up the darkness of the world. And so the darkness of the world is not only configuratively now in this time when the terror and evil is so strong, but literally it's the mitzvah of lighting the Chanukkah is when it's already getting dark. And also the outside, spiritually speaking, the outside, quote unquote, is considered to be the outside forces, the darker forces. Inside represents inside a Jewish home, inside the shul, inside the Chabad house, learning Torah. When you go outside, it's considered like, quote unquote, like the shuk, or like the quote unquote spiritual marketplace, which is considered spiritually a low level and an outside of the parameters of Torah. So the point is to light up the darkness, that the darkness should not be any more counter to Yiddishkeit, rather it should light up the darkness. I just want to point out that before we go further, that according to halacha, the Chanukkah, the menorah, it's okay if it's by the window, as long as it's not 20 meters high above the ground. But also, it needs to be in a public place. So, for example, just that you should know that in the Chabad custom is that when you light it home, to put it public place in the home, for example, the doorway between the kitchen and the dining room, for example. That's like the central the central if you will, the most public place where everyone has to go through. Of course, you have to be careful of the candles, but anything which represents public, the general. I'm not sure what the word is. Traffic cross. Talking about a home, it's small, but any place which is like an intersection, so to speak, if you could say that by a home, then that's where the Chanukkah should be placed. Even though generally speaking, we see that the Chanukah and the mezuzah are similar, because both of them are both by the door and also close to the outside. Nonetheless, there are obviously some differences. First of all, mezuzah is on the right and the Chanukkah is on the left. Second of all, the mezuzah that's near the outside is not because it's related to the outside per se. It's because that's the entrance to the home. So you're outside, you're about to come in. So the first point that you're hitting the home is the outside of the home. So it's close to the home. So you put your hand and you touch the mezuzah. On the other hand, Chanukah is not there because it's the entrance to the home. It's the opposite. It's going outside. We want to put it as close as possible to the outside to influence and to have a positive effect, that the outside should also be holy, not just inside the Jewish home and inside the Jewish experience, but also to bring whatever we do over here, whatever we have over here, to bring it outside, that outside should also be influenced and also should be holy. In the words of the Talmud, and also soon I'll tell you the words of the Kabbalah. The Talmud and Halacha calls it Reshut HaRabim, the public domain. According to the Kabbalah, it's called Turei de Pruda, literally meaning mountains of separation. In other words, you have the outside, you have mountains, but it's separation. It's not holy. It's not where, I'm using the wrong words, but I'm just trying to bring a point across. It's not where a Jew belongs. A Jew belongs inside a shul. A Jew belongs to live in a Jewish environment. When we live in a Jewish environment, then we have a positive influence, and we can send our children to Jewish schools, and we have kosher food as much as we need, and we have a Jewish atmosphere. That's where we belong. We don't belong in the quote unquote outside where there are negative forces. According to the Kabbalah, these Turei de Pruda, these mountain separation, which in the Kabbalah we have. I'm facing you, so I'm going to do it the way you see it. You have Yamin, the right, small, the left, and Emtza, the middle. It's some of the Sfirot, some of the luminaries are on the right, some are on the left, some in the middle. So The small, the left, represents the opposite of Kedusha, the opposite of holiness. That's the mountains of separation. The inside, the shul, the inside, the Chabad house. That's like the right side. So the Chanukiah wants to light up the outside. Now, regarding the mitzvah of mezuzah, it says that it's compared and it's included. It's compared to all the mitzvot, and also includes in itself all of the mitzvot. There are some key mitzvot that are considered general mitzvot, for example, Shabbat, and other mitzvot that are also considered general mitzvot. And we see by mitzvot that you have to do the mitzvah with your right hand, with your right. That's in some cases it's even if you didn't do it with the right hand, then it's considered as if you didn't do it. A mitzvah needs to be done with your right, and mezuzah is on the right. And also, the mitzvahs are not necessarily compared to the outside. The mitzvahs usually need to be observed inside. Even the mitzvahs that are done outside, but there's no special connection to the outside per se. Usually a mitzvah is done inside an environment. It's a chidush, it's a novelty that we try our best to go outside and to try to influence the outside. There's one halacha that there's an interesting halacha on the Rambam in Hilchot Lulav, the laws of Lulav, and I think it's like a really Chabad halacha. It says by the Lulav, you go to shul, the lulav biyado. The lulav is in your hand. You go home, lulav biyado. You go to the marketplace, lulav biyado. He's probably saying that wherever you go, you have to take the lulav with you and to share the mitzvah with others, to give someone who did not have an opportunity to say a bracha on the lulav, they should also be able to say a bracha on the lulav. So we take it obviously to every other mitzvah as well. So we got 1,000 Chanukiot, so we can give it out to many people and to soldiers and people that are evacuated, whoever needs a mezuzah, whoever needs a Chanukiah. And I encourage all of you that are here and all of you that are watching this year, anytime, any year, forever and ever, that when you have your Chanukiah, make sure that someone else also has a Chanukiah. There's something beautiful about a lot of people that come to do a bar mitzvah for their children here in Israel, that they, or to do a wedding. I've seen also that they say, you know what, I'm doing a wedding or a bar mitzvah here, so I'm going to buy a pair of tefillin for another boy who is less fortunate and cannot afford a pair of tefillin. Giving $20,000 to an orphan who cannot afford a wedding, was having the wedding either in the same night or in the same week or something like that. So it's a nice thing. Do a mitzvah, so to share the mitzvah with others. So according to this, the mitzvah of Chanukkah, which specifically has to be done on the left side and also connected to the outside, is in a way a little separate, a little different than most of the mitzvahs, because most of the mitzvahs need to be done with your right hand, with the right, it's considered the right, and also needs to be done more inside, it's more connected to the inside. So we're going to bring an example. So if you look at it from these lenses, what's going to be that the main thing is like the other mitzvahs. Chanukah, a little bit for some reasons on the side, a little different. It's not so. I don't want to say the wrong words, but maybe it's not so holy, or it's not. That's the wrong word. It's not so special. The other mitzvahs are done with the right hand. The other mitzvahs are done in the shul, in your home. But these mitzvahs, the Chanukah is done like it's a little bit outside. So we're going to try to bring out over here the specialty of Chanukah and how Chanukah sticks out, that Dafka specifically because it's on the quote-unquote left and it's related to the outside, it's even more special than the regular mitzvahs. Of course, every mitzvah has its specialty, but we're just trying to bring out, hopefully, the specialty of Chanukah. So let's take an example from another subject, and then we're going to bring it back, and we'll try to wrap this up and to see what can be the specialty of the mitzvah of Chanukah. We have generally two types of mitzvot. We have mitzvot taseh, positive mitzvot, and we have mitzvot lo taseh, prohibitive mitzvot. If I would ask any one of you, which one is more special? A positive mitzvah, something that you do, or refraining from not killing? Well, whoopie do. You didn't kill. Well, you're a big tzaddik. who says that? So which one? So what would you say? To do the mitzvah. That's it at first glance. That's it. You proactively you do a mitzvah. You put on the tefillin. You light Shabbat candles. Well, Shabbat candles is not a mitzvah per se, but it's definitely connected with Shabbat. Any mitzvah that you do, a positive mitzvah, you're accomplishing the mitzvah. So this is something which is there. There are so many examples. There are 248 examples of that. You bring a korban. You observe the chagim. Every chag has its own mitzvah. You do the mitzvah. Then you have the lo taseh. You shall not do. So, as a short introduction to this, it says that every moment that you do not violate a prohibitive mitzvah, 365 of them, you're fulfilling a mitzvah. So the fact itself that you don't kill, you don't steal, for example, to take a couple of extremes, don't eat non-kosher, you're doing a mitzvah. With every minute, every hour, you're doing thousands and thousands, which is an interesting perspective, but that's how Hashem looks at it. So it's not just, oh, I didn't kill, so it's a big deal. Yes, it's a big deal. Hashem is proud of us for every mitzvah that we do. There are some mitzvahs that are positive mitzvahs, and some mitzvahs that are prohibitive mitzvahs. Now, what could be special about not violating a mitzvah? Seemingly, it's something which is whatever. You're okay. It doesn't make you something special. You do something good. When you help an old person across the street, wow, that's people look at it as a mitzvah. But if you didn't slap him in the face, oh, that's it's not like that's also a mitzvah. By not doing something bad, how could that be considered something special? And the answer is as follows. When we do a mitzvah, this is a really interesting concept. What are we accomplishing when we do a mitzvah? We are bringing down godliness into the world. We say a bracha, Baruch atah Hashem, blessed are you Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, our God, the master of the universe, Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, excuse me please, that he sanctified us with his mitzvahs, and he commanded us, yada yada yada, to put on the tzitzis, to learn Torah, to put on the tefillah, whatever it is, the mitzvah that we need to do. Now there are two. First, let me say that the word Baruch literally means blessed. Blessed are you, Hashem. But Baruch also is from the Hebrew word havracha. It has the same root word, which means to draw down. What are we doing when we say a bracha? We are asking Hashem to be drawn down, so to speak, to come down into our lives, to bring down more godliness. Every single person, every single object in the world has a spark, at least a spark of godliness. Our job is to magnify that spark, and that spark should be a torch, should be a bonfire, a spiritual bonfire. There should be a tremendous amount of light and warmth in the world. So when you do a mitzvah, you're bringing down kedusha, holiness, into the world. When you say a bracha on an apple, the spark in the apple was only a spark. But now that you said the bracha, wow, now the apple becomes a holy apple. When you're sitting on a chair and you're sitting at a table, you're using a book, now the chair becomes, you're learning Torah, and the chair becomes a vessel, so to speak, a tool to receive more godliness. We may not see it, but that doesn't change the fact. That just means that we're not holy enough to see it. When Mashiach comes, we're going to be able to see it. Now let's get back to the positive mitzvahs and the prohibitive mitzvahs. Are you ready? You got to put in your thinking caps for this. There are two ways how to draw down kedusha, holiness, to the world, or there are two effects that happen. Two types of effects. Number one, a positive one. You bring down godliness into the world. You have a tool. You have a lulav and the other two species, and you make a bracha, and then these species now became holy, and you brought more kedusha into the world. Then, you're listening closely, there's a higher level of kedusha, which it's so high that it cannot come into a container. There's no materialistic object that's holy enough, that's great enough to accept in itself this high level. So, in other words, by doing a positive mitzvah, it's wonderful, it's great. I'm not trying to, in any way, shape, or form, to undermine a positive mitzvah. But when you do a prohibitive mitzvah, what are you doing? You're bringing down such a great light from Hashem into what? There's no container. That's the point. Because it's so high that when it comes down into the world, which it does by observing, by fulfilling, by refraining from not violating a sin, we're bringing down into the world such a high level. It comes into the world because we did the mitzvah just by not killing. It's unbelievable. Just by sitting back and not kill. Of course, we have to do positive mitzvahs as much as possible. I'm just trying to magnify the other side of the coin, which is at first glance less focused on. All of a sudden, wow. So which mitzvah is greater? Not to say that other mitzvahs are not good, but what mitzvah is greater? The mitzvah, the prohibitive mitzvah, in a sense, is much greater. So, but how does that fit with what we said earlier, that when you do a positive mitzvah, that's greater? So it depends how you look at it. If you're looking at what kind of accomplishment you want to do, what kind of avodat Hashem you want to do, so of course, by doing a proactive, positive mitzvah, you accomplish something amazing. But if you're looking at the level of godliness that we draw down through the observing Hashem's mitzvah, then the mitzvah of the prohibitive mitzvah, refraining from violating a sinful act, that's a much higher level of godliness which we draw down into the world, and therefore there isn't even any kind of container. It's just lo taseh. Just don't do it, and you're right away impacting the world in ways that are so great. Isn't that unbelievable? I think it's an amazing thought. The Alter Rebbe alludes to this in the Tanya at the beginning of the Igeret Tshuva. It talks about mitzvot taseh, mitzvot lo taseh. They're tshuva for someone, God forbid, missing out on a positive mitzvah, and someone violating, God forbid, a prohibitive mitzvah. And so now we get back to Chanukkah. Here's the punchline. So Chanukkah, the majority of the mitzvahs need to be done inside the framework of a Jewish experience, of a Jewish atmosphere. It makes sense. What makes inside a shul, inside a yeshiva, inside a Chabad house Jewish, quote unquote, because it's a place where you do Jewish things. You do mitzvahs. You learn Torah. We had over here just an hour and a half ago, we had a whole bunch of girls from one of the seminaries to put on labels on the Chanukiot, so that we can hopefully have an additional effect of the Chanukiah. When someone gets the Chanukiah, instead of it only being a one-time thing or an eight mitzvahs, 8 nights, but we can make it even larger. Which, by the way, not to undermine having one mitzvah is amazing. Let alone 8 mitzvahs. But if you have a person contact the office, and when they need to come to shul and they want to have a Torah class, or they want to do other mitzvahs, isn't that more amazing that they can contact Chabad of Rechavia afterwards and make that mitzvah more long-term? So this is what's supposed to be. This is supposed to be a place where we're doing mitzvahs, and that's we do mitzvahs 25/8 right here. All of a sudden, we have a place that's called the outside. The outside is a place where there may not be. Let's say there may not be as many mitzvahs done as is done inside. So it makes sense. That's where most of the mitzvahs should be done. So we have this Chanukah, this interesting concept of a mitzvah. On one hand, it's a mitzvah, it's a positive mitzvah. You're doing. Sorry, can you hear me? Are we back on? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kishamta v'tzivanu lahadlik ner Chanukah, to light the candle of Chanukah. So on one hand, it's a positive mitzvah, it's a rabbinical mitzvah, but we do a bracha for it. On the other hand, we're putting it on the left side of the door. By the way, it's with your right hand. You do it with your right hand, but it has, we start from the, put it on the left side of the door. And sorry about that. We're back in. We started from the left and you go towards the right, because that's the idea. We're going towards the right, but it's on the left side of the door and it's outside. So this is an interesting kind of mitzvah. All of a sudden we have something which doesn't necessarily embody what a regular mitzvah, typical mitzvah embodies, which is on the right and inside. So that is the chidush, the unbelievable novelty of this mitzvah of Chanukkah. It's similar to mezuzah, but it's different because let's, instead of looking at it as, it's on the side and the left side, it's outside, it's a nebuch, it's a misken, it's an unfortunate individual. Wow, this is such a powerful mitzvah that dafka specifically we put it on the left because the light of Chanukkah, are you listening, is so powerful. It is regular light. So it surpasses the regular energy, the regular ability to impact the world. Therefore, specifically this mitzvah, Hashem says, don't just keep that light in. Let's make this light, let's take it out there. And let's light up the darkness. We need this now in time of war so much more than any other time in history. That we need this, we need just last week, they brought the Chabad big 2.5 meter Chanukkah to Gaza, and they put it up on top of one of the buildings that they conquered. Unbelievable. Is there a greater way to light up the darkness? We have to make sure that every soldier has an ability to light the Chanukkah this year. No question. And I think this message is so powerful because now we have a deeper insight into what's going on over here. Now our insight is that we're looking at the pnimiyut, the innermost part of the mitzvah of Hanukkah. It's not just, we want to put on the right side, but there's a mezuzah there, so let's just put it on the left side. No, it's not plan B or D. It's plan AAA. Dafka AAA. Of course, other mitzvahs are good, but we do it on the right. But it's almost as if to say, they have a good light, and it's wonderful to do the mitzvahs and to bring that into the world. We're not in any way, chas v'shalom, undermining the power of a regular mitzvah, but it doesn't, in this sense of impacting the outside, impacting the left, the quote-unquote Kabbalistic left, doesn't come close. All of a sudden, we have this beautiful mitzvah, which is so powerful, and it doesn't stop at the first night. It gets larger every day as we build up throughout the 8 nights of Hanukkah. And this is connected also to, interestingly enough, to the mitzvah of tefillin. The other mitzvah that we talked about that has a shmirah, that guards and protects us. Which hand do we put the tefillin on? The left hand. Most people are righties, put in the left hand. If a person's a lefty, put in the right hand. Because the Torah says, yadcha. Usually yadcha is spelled yud dalid, final chaf. In one place, at least, it says yadcha, yud dalid chaf hey. It's okay, but the Talmud learns as if you can divide up the word into 2 words. Yud dalid chaf hey. Yad keha. I just thought by divine providence that chaf hey is connected to Hanukkah because it's the 20 is the numerical value of 25, the 25th day of the month of Kislev. So maybe there's another connection over there. There's a Chanukkah. It can also be divided into 2 words. Chanu, chafei. This I didn't make up. The chafei that I just thought of now. I don't know if it's. I don't like to make things up, so I'm just telling you. I don't know if Chanu chafei. They rested on they won the war on the 24th Chavdalit, which is tonight. Tonight's Wednesday in the Hebrew calendar. Tonight is Chavdalit, and chafei is the day that they rested. The first day that they rested. So they won it, and then the first full day of rest, so to speak. So maybe we could connect that to the yadcha. So the Talmud says yadcha, but the tefillin yad keha. It's almost the weaker hand. So people say, so why do you put on tefillin on the left? You should put on tefillin. So I think the simple answer is that we do mitzvahs with our right. And even with a tefillin, you're doing it with your right hand, right? You put it on the left arm, and you have to do it with the right arm. So where do you put it on? On the other one. So we are doing the mitzvah with our, it's on the left hand, but we're doing it with our right. That's number one. Number two, the Talmud says, Yad Keha, the weaker hand. So once again, we have the concept, the fact is that the tefillin is on the left. So, oivei, it's on the left. How does that come in? How does the outside influences, God forbid, how does that come into Torah? How does that associate with mitzvahs? So this is the point. The entire one of the general mitzvahs, which are compared to all of the mitzvahs, like we said before about mezuzah and Shabbat, is also tefillin. It says Huksha Kol Torah l'tefillin. The entire Torah was compared, so to speak, to tefillin. So it doesn't mean we put on tefillin and you don't have to do anything else. It just means that the tefillin carries a lot of weight, spiritual weight. It carries a lot of weight of it's an important, it's a major, it's a general mitzvah, which can be compared to all of the mitzvahs. And so this is the point. We're supposed to influence the left hand, which represents the outside, the evil forces, the terrorism, many shades of darkness, many shades of evil. Hashem should protect us. And also, we started the class by saying, V'ra'u kol amei haaretz, that all the nations of the world will see. Amei haaretz, we're talking about the nations of the world. So you have Am Yisrael, which is B'ni B'chori Yisrael, Am HaNivchar, the chosen nation. And we have an obligation to elevate and to influence all of the Amei haaretz. How does that happen? With tefillin. By the way, mezuzah as well. The famous story of Onkelos, that he was the nephew of the Caesar, and he converted to Judaism because he understood the importance of the mitzvah of mezuzah. And in his chut, here you have again the mitzvah of mezuzah, where all the people that brought him, they became Jewish as well. Then the next group also became Jewish. In other words, it works. So here you have also in the mitzvah mezuzah, what I just said, also influencing the outside, not just keeping Yiddishkeit Judaism for us inside, whoever's in the loop already. We have to take it out. That's the whole idea. That's what Chabad is number one, in bringing Yiddishkeit to every single person, every single Jew. And also, like we talked on Yutet Kislev, the 7 Noahide laws. That's also a great way to influence the world. So if we have a Rou Kalamei Aretz, that the nations of the world will see, the Yarami Mecca. So a regular person is going to look at it and say, the Yarami Mecca, they're gonna fear us. It's true. It's true. But what does it mean on a deeper level? It means that their terror will stop, will be eradicated, and they will begin, in a sense, they will change. They will stop terrorizing Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael, which means getting rid of the bad, getting rid of the evil, and allowing Hashem to play a major role in Eretz Yisrael and in the world. So, wrapping up what we learned today. We learned today about a number of really cool mitzvahs. We learned all about mezuzah. We learned all about tefillin. And we learned mainly about Chanukkah, that the power of the Menorah, the Chanukiah, each candle of Chanukkah is there not just to light up the quote-unquote inside, the quote-unquote regular status of Am Yisrael doing mitzvahs in the circle, in the framework of Yiddishkeit, but to take it outside, to make sure that people that don't have an opportunity to light the menorah, they should also have an opportunity. And so I invite everybody to join us in the several events that we're going to have this Chanukah. So just stay tuned to your WhatsApps, stay tuned to your emails and to the announcements. And if I can mention two events, I'll mention just two events because they're really, they're really very much connected to this Devar Torah that we just said. Number one, Motzai Shabbat, right after Shabbos over here at Kikar Paris, at the Paris Square. We have it every year, Motzai Shabbos of Chanukah, 7:30. We'll get together and I unfortunately have to tell you in advance. There's probably going to be a demonstration, as there has been last few weeks. Unfortunately, there's still some very very dark points. Even in the war, it's unbelievable how they could still continue to demonstrate over here. But we have an experience, whoever has been here in the past, that we've brought a lot of light, and they've allowed us to join in the sense of singing Hanukkah songs and lighting the menorah. So hopefully that's going to be. And also, we're working on a big project for Tuesday evening in the Aza in the Aza street. It's called Lighting Up Aza. Besides, for our soldiers who are in Aza, there's no other Beit Chabad that can do an event lighting up Aza, because we're here on Aza Street, and it's going to be a big event. A couple of one soldier who has been wounded, and I visited him. He came home, Baruch Hashem. He's going to be at the event, and and a parent of a soldier who was gone missing. Unfortunately, it's so sad. It's heartbreaking. It's worse. It's worse than anything else. Than not knowing they still have not found the son yet. And so we say at Tefillah, we finish off with a prayer that all of our soldiers should come back safely, quickly, and healthily. Thank you for joining us. Bezrat Hashem, looking forward to an amazing Chanukah with all of you together right here in Yerushalayim.